Hello, everyone. Yes, so my name's Ian Bishop. I'm CEO of a company called Damilah Technology. We're a development services company. So today we're going to be talking from early adoption to AI-enabled leadership, following on from the presentation I gave at the CTO Craft event last year. So a lot of the basis of this is as a result of a survey that we conducted with CTO Craft across CTOs in the community, looking ahead a couple of years to see what the future would look like and how it looks today as well for people. So one of the things that came across very loud and clear is that I think it was something like 92% of respondents were already using AI. So it's something that's here today. It's not something that we plan for the future. So one of the things that was really interesting in the survey results was people's productivity expectations. And you can see on the graph here that people who are newer to using AI tools had quite a reasonable expectation of productivity gains, but those who had more experience using AI saw an increase in their own expectations of what productivity gains the AI tools can give us. And I found that really interesting because quite often, when new technologies come out, there's a bubble of expectation which then bursts and people are brought down to earth. But the opposite seems to be happening here with the AI tools. And the reason for that, which was something we're going to be going through today, is I think when people start, they tend to use AI tools more as a co-pilot, so continuing the way they've always worked, but then using the AI tools just to help accelerate that. But then once people get into the tools themselves, they can see that they can change their ways of working to really utilize the capabilities of AI tools. So, as people start using AI tools, it's a bit of a change process for all of us. I mean, I'm sure that all of our teams are people who are very keen to get involved in the latest technologies, start trying things out on their own, even without being asked. And there are other people who are maybe a little bit more reluctant to jump on board. Maybe they prefer to do things the way they have done before. And the results of that within our teams is that there's quite an uneven spread of capability in the teams. You have those who are really utilizing the tools and those who are handwriting or just using AI tools a little bit. Um, we can try training people, but the training struggles to keep up. The tools have been changing so fast. There are new models coming up all the time, and the capabilities are continually changing. So it's really hard to get a consistent usage of the tools. And as a result, standards can suffer, processes can be inconsistent. There can be new concerns that come up to leaders, such as IP leakage. What about compliance? What about accountability, and so on? And these things can make it quite difficult to really scale up using AI capabilities. So the way to deal with that, really, to move from this fragmented innovation, is to try and move towards an orchestration process where the standards can be adopted, governance can be put in place, and so on. At the end of the day, what we want to try to do is we want to try and facilitate our teams to be as productive as possible, to utilize the tools, but in a controlled, managed way, so that we can ensure that we're consistent, we're safe. One thing that these tools will be doing as it becomes easier and quicker to build software, a lot of change is going to be happening in markets, and it's really, really important that we can support an accelerated time to market, as things are only going to become more competitive with the use of AI tools. So the way we see things changing is moving more towards an orchestration way of working, and we're going to try and bring that to life for you in a moment. My colleague Aleksandar is going to be showing you an example of an orchestration platform, because I think that really helps to bring things alive. But from this image, you can see the person in the middle, surrounded by a series of agentic workflows, each covering a different part of the SDLC, whether it's looking at requirements, whether it's looking at prototyping, coding, or testing. But each one of those workflows will consist of multiple agents focused on delivering their part of the SDLC. But it's really important to see the person in the middle there who's controlling that, managing it, reviewing it, checking the output. So this is the model that we believe, and that the survey results were showing us that people are moving towards, which allows them to really accelerate the productivity that gains that they can get from using AI tools. So rather than just using them to support current ways of working, actually changing the ways of working to make the most of what's available. So before we come on to that practical example, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what that means for teams and for people. So what we see happening is that teams will end up becoming smaller. There'll be less engineering and more product focused, I believe. We'll see new roles coming out. People will have to wear multiple hats, but be multiple disciplinary. So, for example, the product engineer is a role that we can see today. We have people in our organization who are working as product engineers. And these will be people who can understand customer needs, speak to end users, speak to the customers who'll be using the products and really understand the domain. But at the same time, they can use the tools to either generate prototypes or even generate working applications. There still will be a need, certainly for the time being, for the technical skills, the senior technical people, the systems engineers, because there is still the need to have people who know what good looks like. So who understand scalability, security concerns, who will be defining the technical standards that the tools need to operate with, and so on. So some of the skills and priorities that we see for people working in this environment, and this is evolving, and even today, I would say the baseline skill there of really understanding how to utilize AI tools is critical even today. So understanding how to create really good prompts, give that context to the AI tools to get the best results from them. I see this as being such a basic skill, a bit like being able to use a keyboard. Unless you can do that, you're going to really struggle in the environment as it's evolving today. We've already talked about the commercial understanding, which is a differentiator here. So the people who are working and building the products are really understanding the value that they bring to the customers, the value they bring to their own organizations is really important. But then sitting on top of that, we have the human traits, which won't go away. The human traits which we're best at, the creativity, the curiosity, and so on. So I see these as key skills that we should be looking to develop in the people that we have working in our teams, but also key skills that should be looking for new people joining our teams. This all leads to quite a challenge for us as leaders. I really believe things are going to become more complex for us. There'll be likely to be more projects going on, smaller teams, more projects, more change happening. But there are some certain traits that we need to focus on developing. Clearly, leadership is one. Strategy is another. So AI is very good at working out the how, but we own the destination. Right. So creativity, we've talked about, empathy, ethics. These are human traits we need to build upon, which cannot be replaced by AI. Empathy, being able to relate to the people in our teams and understand them, but also to our customers and users to understand their real needs. Ethics, we know the bias that exists within models. We have to make sure those don't come through in our products. So I really wanted to go through this as a sort of to set the scene, as repeating some of what I presented in March. But these were the results of the findings and our view as to how things are evolving. And I'm quite confident with this, to be honest, at the moment, because we see some of our customers today following some of these patterns. But the best thing, I think, rather than just talking about it and showing you pictures, is actually to show you a practical example of an AI orchestration platform. And so now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Aleksandar.
Hi all, I'm Aleksandar. Give me just a second to share my screen. Okay, perfect. I hope you can see my screen where I'm showing one example of a platform that is following on Iain thoughts about orchestration and how orchestration should be and is executed at the current at the moment. So ideally, the orchestration platform will be able to run your defined workflow or executing your work automatically, autonomously with human in the loop, definitely, but at scale with multiple workflows running in parallel. So what I'm going to do at the moment is like showcase how one workflow is and can be structured, so you can definitely understand how the things are practically envisioned to work. So I'll start from creating a new workflow, and the workflow will need to consist of definitely structuring the context and like giving instruction to the platform how it needs to execute the flow. So I will set like one example project, and I can pick from different ways on how the workflow can be executed. Either instructing the like a usual way, instructing the engine and the platform by writing a prompt, and I invoke a separate predefined agent that can do a specific task. Let's say I can go in the product owner area and just create a PRD. And I want that specific workload to be executed when started and provided with the appropriate documents. Or I can leave the orchestrator to or decide which predefined workflow I can execute. So the idea is to replace most of the uh, manual step in the current SDLC in this case with agents that are covering that specific scenario. Or like as a other alternative is predefining the event triggered workflows where I can connect the multiple systems and the workflows to be executed by triggered automatically instead of someone predefining and structuring the whole and defining the whole workflow like repetitively. Ideally, this will be done by someone that understands the product requirements, and some product engineer, and someone that can work with the like giving instruction to the platform what it needs to do. So in this case, I will create something like, for example, which is with using the natural language approach. I'll write here implement order story number 1, 2, 3. And like further down, I'll be asked to add more context on top of the context that is set on the project level, which I will showcase a bit further down the demo. And let's say I can upload something like a interview transcript to user research to give a bit more context to the workflow. And maybe I can prioritize the documents that are already added in the project, so to make and ensure successful execution of the workflow. I can add collaborators that I want to help me in the execution of the flow. I can add a tech lead. I can add a QA engineer to ensure that as soon as the execution of the workflow needs some input by some of our colleagues or the people that are responsible to work on the specific project, to those guys to be notified and to react and approve whatever the platform needs at that given moment. I will start the workflow now. And I'll wait for a bit for the platform to decide which workflow is appropriate to what I asked to be done, like through my prompt. It will suggest, in this case, like requirement analysis, system design, implementation testing, and deployment at the end. And I can definitely interact with the platform and decide if I want to change the order, which in this case doesn't make sense, or I can accept the execution plan. As soon as I accept the execution plan, the workflow stages will be predefined and the workflow will start executing. The platform will execute and trigger the appropriate agents to work and work over the defined workflow and read from the context provided to the platform. I'll explain how the context is created in order for you to be able to understand better, but I'll leave this workflow to work, and I'll showcase one that needs review so you can understand how the people working on the platform, either tech leads, product engineers, QAs, will interact with this kind of platforms on day-to-day basis, and what will be one of the additional activities that they will need to do in the modern software development where orchestration is a center of it. So let's say this is one workflow where we have like 3 workflow stages, which is requirement analysis, development, and at the end validation. So the platform is prompting that someone will need to review the code that is generated to do the appropriate steps. In this case, except from the product engineer, there were no other colleagues added to this workflow. So I'll add, let's say, Bob again, just so I can interact with the people working on the workflow and maybe notify them what are the next steps and what we expect them to do in order for this workflow to continue working. I can say Bob, please review the pull request review and unit tests, and he'll be notified about his the notification from the platform, so he can attend and do the necessary steps over this workflow. In the artifacts section, he'll be able to, if he wants to see what were the requirements or which the code was executing or implemented, he can look at the requirements, download them, or even go back and discuss and do some necessary changes if he sees that something is not right. Or if he is fine with what's going on, he can interact with the systems that are linked to the platform for the specific project and do dedicated actions. Let's say in a GitHub, I can decide that I want to update the status. I can create a pull request and commit the changes to GitHub repository of that project. Let's say in this case, I can select one project just for an example. And he'll be prompted with some actions that he needs to take in order for him to be able to complete the workflow. So as soon as it happens, like the workflow can continue working and finish the work. I can cancel this workflow, I can pause it, and I can interact with it to be able to instruct how the workflows are executed. So I'll go back. I understand that the workflows are at the end of the process. There is a process in the background, which is precondition to a workflow being able to be executed successfully. So I'll showcase now the process of setting up one project. So you can have a clearer picture on how the context is practically created on top of the other aspects that are going in the background or how you can influence the platform and then workflows execution on the higher level. So I'll go through the process of creating projects. Under projects, we understand where you can create a group of future workflows and configure and give a bit more context to the workflows that will be created. So I can create one like demo project. I can add description to the project or status, and also I'll need to give and acknowledge that I'm aware of all the security standards, GDPR compliance, and the rest of the standards that can be configured in the platform. So in order for us to be able to execute successfully, and also to give to the platform acknowledgement and to the models that are working in the background that they need to follow some standards when they are implementing the work. In the configuration tab, I can create, can give more hint to the context that, let's say, I want to, this project is like a JavaScript project, or it's C# or any other thing that you see relevant, and configure the LLMs that we want the workflows under this project to use. So we can pick from different LLMs. We know that Anthropic is providing one of the better models, so I can choose, let's say, Opus 4.6, and then do the configuration about my endpoint, the API that I have, and the key. So then any future agent that will be triggered will use that specific LLM. I can add multiple LLMs and decide which LLM will be used for which agent, but I won't go in that granularity during this demo. Then how we see the context creation and how we hydrate the context with more data, it's obviously connecting it to our backlog. So I can configure the connection. In our case, we have access to Azure DevOps and set that configuration, configure our repositories where in this case GitHub and Azure ADO are supported. And I can pick appropriate do I need to work on separate branch or the branch that where I want to work, and just configure the whole project to be able to work over a specific code base. And also, if let's say I have additional resources that I want to include, like a design systems or something else, I can connect those through MCP connections and give more chance to all the workflows be successful. So every project also involves or providing opportunities for you to add a bit more documents. So I can add example documents. In this case is some kind of a local document that will contain information about the product, like maybe a bit more specific domain knowledge or security standards, or information that also can contribute to better context when agents are executing. And if I want at this moment to add default people working on this project, I can add, let's say, Alice, or someone else like data analyst that can help me to monitor the status of the workflows or manage the project itself, and I will create at the end the project. So going back, I can the platform. Give me a second. Yeah, I can discard the project and go back to the overview. So as someone that is managing the project or the platform, the platform ideally will need to provide information about what's going on at the moment, how many workflows are executing, how much of them are completed today, let's say, active user, active projects, and see a possibility or have observability of possible issues that the platform is creating. Let's say some bad loops in the execution, or some conflicts made during the pushing the changes, and also have other like visibility on what's going on the platform in general. All the actions are audited, so you can see who did what at the platform. So we'll have visibility if in case of any challenge and issue, to be able to identify or like assess and investigate what happened. The same goes with the code changes, especially if you have multiple agents working on multiple workflows working under the same project, then it's likely that potential issues can happen. So having visibility over it definitely will help to be able to triage, solve, or even revert back the changes that are done, so you can have all the control over the work that is done over to your project. So like I can go to the platform as well, and there are other reports which can help anyone to monitor also the spend and expenses and identify potential challenges, or like forecast the how the platform is running and how much tokens are spent. And the reports are showing input output tokens, how much are spent, also which agents are spending the most of the tokens, what are the costs incurred, and also which specific agents are like and which models were used and how much tokens were used over any specific model. I think I will stop here now and give you a bit more time, and eventually if you have any questions, happy to provide answers. Thank you.
So what we've been showing you there is something that we've been building that we intend to use on our projects. So we've spent some time focusing on this, thinking it through, and it's an example really of what we see as an orchestration platform looking like. And as you can see, so I'm staring at the space because I've moved my screen. So that's what we were showing you, just an example as to what an orchestration platform may look like in the future. It's what we're planning to use ourselves. So I thought that would be a good example. Right. So it looks like we do have some questions. So the first question is, if you're transforming a traditional engineering team today, what are the first 2 to 3 high leverage changes or decisions you'd prioritize in the SDLC, and why? Okay, I shall start with that, I suppose. I guess it depends on where your pain points are. I mean, quite often we see people starting at the first stage, maybe looking at the discovery phase and prototyping and those sorts of things. Aleksandar, have you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so like from my point of view, it's definitely the team structure will be affected at the beginning, and like the general SDLC will lean into different direction. Like let's say the more focus will be put on the product engineering side or developing the requirements in generally, and spend more time in understanding the customer needs. So the context of any given platform like this, or any tooling that will be employed in the SDLC to like set it for success, and also change the mindset of the team in order for them to be able to work alongside platforms like this instead of like using the traditional way of working. So it will be upskilling people and reshaping the focus of the teams, at least from my perspective.
Okay, so another question. How do you design your AI-first SDLC and tooling so it remains stable, given how fast the AI ecosystem is evolving?
In our case, it's the tooling that we are developing are usually following the building blocks that are, I would say, accepted as standards at the moment, and giving possibility to our tools to work by using different kind of LLMs. So not tidying ourselves to any specific vendor at the moment. So that's like all the agents are having like a separate specific definition, as we know how the agents are structured at the moment. And we are trying for their definition to be as generic as possible, so we can like try and employ any possible changes in future with the big model vendors.
I mean, we sort of expect the major model vendors to bring out their own orchestration platforms, but then they will be looking to tie people into their own tech stacks. Our approach, that what we decided to do ourselves for our own projects, was to remain independent, as we're not quite sure where it's all going to end up going. So another question here: there are different patterns like Dark Factory and Ralph to integrate agents into the SDLC process. Have you had any experience with these? I think I'm going to have to hand that one over.
Yeah, I'm aware of the patterns, but like we don't have like hands-on experience with them. We are looking to develop our approach and to employ in our teams instead of employ where we have like more control than using something third party at the moment.
Okay, so in a multicultural setup like yours, have you noticed differences in how teams adopt or resist AI-driven workflows, and what tends to be the biggest blocker?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think every company at the moment is going through this change process, and we are aware that a lot of our colleagues are still not ready to, I would say, employ or use any AI in their day-to-day workflow. But definitely there are certain people that are way ahead of the others and certain are lagging. But we as a company are constantly trying to take action and like practically support our employees, at least to start that journey and to end that journey successfully, and to follow through the trends and to stay relevant for the customers and definitely the market.
I don't think it's a particularly multicultural issue. I think it's more of just a change issue with people. We see the same things um, in our UK customers with their own teams having challenges with adopting AI. I think it's just a general thing. Okay, next question. Typically, there are early adopters of AI and late followers in a software development organization. What successful ways have you seen to get AI excitement ignited in the late follower, i.e., turning resistance into acceptance or excitement? I know we've tried a number of different things ourselves. Um, so we start by encouraging people to start using tools, trying things out, finding specific use cases. We also encourage people to share. So I think Aleksandar runs is it a weekly brown bag session or something where people share what they've achieved with AI. I mean, quite often the thing that gets people initially is where there's a boring task which they can pick up and use AI to accelerate, because no one likes to do boring tasks. Like I think we had somebody had to fix thousands of stored procedures, and he used AI to work out which stored procedures and then to make the changes. And something that would have taken several weeks just took a few days. So sharing the knowledge, encouraging people. We also create innovation projects, which are not necessarily work related, where people can get together and learn how to how to use AI tools. And then we showcase them. We get them to share ideas. And so we try and support, encourage, offer training as well, particularly around prompt engineering. Um, it's a change process. Anything to add on that? No? Okay. Um, next question. How are you dealing with the engineer identity crisis in your teams, if it's happening at all? That I'm going to hand over.
Yeah, it's definitely happening, but we cannot see that the tools are there to replace the engineers. Just it's through definitely coaching, talking, and sharing experiences, and trying to give a bit more clarity that these tools are not here to replace anyone, but to support their work and replace the like Jens said, like the boring task, and help them accelerate and make their job easier at the end of the day. Uh, like most of our people understand that the biggest challenge in software engineering is not the exercise of writing a code. It was always been the interesting part, like thinking and about the solution and creating the solution in your head before you jump and implement the code. So trying to like guide our engineers that that part won't be replaced anytime soon. So still their creativity and experience can be put in practice, and they can definitely be of use in the future as well. Not just that the boring part of just writing code, it's something that will be eventually not completely replaced, but
So one of the areas that we do reassure people, because people are worried that they will all lose their jobs basically with AI taking over. But one thing that we reassure people on about is there are many studies which show that the easier you make something to be done, the more the demand is. The demand outstrips the supply. I mean, in all the companies where I was CTO, we could never do enough compared with what the business was looking for. There's always been a latent demand, and the rate of change is only going to increase with AI tools. So, I mean, the way people work and the roles might change, but there will be roles in our industry. Um, but it is important that people do see what's coming and start to adapt themselves for the future. Next question. You say you intend on using this platform yourself. Do you have an existing application product that you hope to hook this platform into? And how do you see a platform like this getting context into existing code features inside an existing product? Aleksandar?
uh, we have a project where we that is currently connected to the platform. It's our product that we are developing, and that was developed in the past few years. And we also hope to see how the platform will implement some of the features over like that were developed in the past and to be developed now again with the platform. How the context is created, it's through integration to other systems. Like the context is gathered mainly from the repository, from the backlog or ticketing system that you will connect, through the integrations to, let's say, your storybook, story guide, design systems, and documentation that you can provide when the project is set up. And also we have an onboarding process of every project where the platform is creating in order to optimize the context and spend, which is every project when it's created. The repository is scanned so it can pull information about the coding standards and practices and patterns that are used in the code in order for the agents to be able to implement the code to the standards that are already there. So the context is created from multiple sites by interconnecting your company system and knowledge already created and resources.
The next question, I think we've partly answered there already, the question was not every project is greenfield, and what tactics have you found best suited to complex brownfield projects? So I think that's more or less covered. I mean, the first use case we decided to implement was actually to be extending an existing product because that was a subset of the core. So that's where we chose ourselves to start. I'll move on to the next question. What are the main errors the team usually do when creating their own orchestration tools?
Good question. We went through a few cycles of implementing, creating our own platform. Like the last thing that I showed, it's the 4th version. It's usually understanding the technology, understanding how the agents are working, how the context should be created, how the memory should be shared can be shared between the agents. And I think the mindset, especially, it depends. When we talk about orchestration, we can talk about two things. It can be your orchestration, you work by yourself with multiple agents and use some of the tooling that can orchestrate few agents on by yourself, or use platforms like this. In our case, it's definitely trying to build the platform to service the needs that we decided to aim for. In that case, it was just changing the mindset and understanding that the product will need to create products, and how everything is connected were the main challenges at the beginning. It's more of a tech and understanding than implementation.
That's good. A lot of questions here. So another one. Have you started changing the role descriptions you use? For example, in your hiring, in what you propose to clients? How well has this been received? Are there impacts in terms of expected salaries and rates that you can share? So I'd say at the moment, the the changes, I mean, this is all still fairly early days, but we have seen product owners, senior product owners, for example, changing their titles to being project engineers. That's not necessarily something that we've driven, that we have somebody working on a client's project, which is fairly well fully agentic, and they've changed her title to be a product engineer because that's what they see it in this new world, and we're starting to adapt that as well. We haven't actually gone out to hire people. We have a fair few people here already, so we've been focusing on trying to evolve the skills of the people we've got within the business to fit the new world. And I'm sure we'll have some more product engineers coming through too. But I know in the industry there are various new titles appearing for people, so I can't really comment on the salaries. But our teams are all based in Macedonia, so any salaries we have here wouldn't really be relevant for anywhere else anyway. So let's move on to the next question. Did you reduce significantly some specific engineering roles or some major changes to the roles? I think what we're seeing in projects is the number of engineering roles reducing. So, as I said earlier, I think there's going to be a greater density of product expertise and a lighter density of engineering roles. I see in the future the junior engineer roles are probably more at threat than the more experienced engineering roles. But then it just depends on how people adapt. We have some great less experienced engineers who are really, really jumping on the AI bandwagon and really getting to understand the technology. So it's not just about experience these days. It's about how people are curious in their mindset, how open they are to learning new things, and how they apply themselves to learn the new technologies as they come out. So next question, do you see a bottleneck on the product management, business and decision making side to keep up with the fast pace of AI on the development side? Well, I'd say yes. And working with different clients, we can definitely see that. Uh, um, The bottleneck moves. The bottleneck can move in two different directions. Aleksandar and I were talking about this earlier today, that he sees a lot of the bottleneck moving towards checking and testing at the end. But I also hear a lot of people talking about the bottleneck moving to the ideation and the stages earlier on. So things are moving, definitely, but I think they could be moving in either direction. As AI is generating a lot more code, there's a lot more to check. There's a lot more to validate. But then, if the throughput increases, the process at the beginning needs to accelerate, which is why I see a higher density of product expertise in teams. Next question. How have you seen the evolution in terms of quality of requirements design documents from business teams? BAs and product that would traditionally have been passed to engineering teams to build products and features. Have you alighted upon a particular structure or format that particularly suit the AI agents to produce the best output? Can I pass it on?
Yeah. So the platform in our case, it's flexible, but also we are not removing the interaction that was before present between the product BAs or anyone producing the product requirements and the engineers. It's still there. Just in this case, the output is definitely how the structure of the requirement will be developed by the platform, by the agents. It's definitely defined, but also the human is still in the loop, and it still need to be reviewed by the product engineers or the software engineers that are looking to review the code. In this case, we are expecting by the product engineers to ingest their documents, even if those documents are not in the form and shape like they were before, but to hydrate or give more data to the agents so they can then structure the output. And definitely the output of the requirements are structured, and it depending on the use case, they're structured in how the team understands that one requirement is structured, and that can be influenced in the platform. And also how we see that one, let's say, story should be written, and then in that case, the agent will output the story structure and eventually be written in the backlogs and ticketing systems that we use.
Great. Another question here. How much do you trust what the AI has delivered will meet the customer's expectations? Good question. I noticed you had a QA agent, which will take on most of the responsibility, I expect. But is 100% faith put into this, or is there still an element of human needs to assess what is delivered for goodness and correctness? I would say we remain accountable for what the AI agents are producing. And one thing that we're seeing, and we expect it to happen, I mean, the AI can be great at creating automation tests. However, having people who have deep domain knowledge and experience to validate that the right things are being built are really important. In one of our projects, in fact, we're about to assign somebody who's got got a got a QA background, but really deep domain knowledge in a certain area, which suits this project. And she's going to be joining the team as a product engineer, but with a slight focus that's a bit more on the validation at the end. I think we can definitely, I mean, the human in the loop is really important, but as we remain accountable, we have to ensure that what's being built is what is needed by the customers. And at the moment, we need humans to do that. So, no, we wouldn't trust it 100%. We would always need to validate it. So, next question. How has AI adoption changed the skill profile you expect from engineers? Are you prioritizing different signals of impact? Pass this over.
Going back to what was the most interesting part for the engineers aspect in the past and always, it's designing the solution. So what we expect, or what I see that it will be more important as a skill in future for the engineers, and it's more of a understanding the engineering principles, and instead of like having the skill of writing code. So their real impact will be to designing solution and like knowing to distinguish what goods look like versus like something that is not to the standard. And also we believe that in this age that the engineers should develop their product skills and business understanding as well, instead of just being techies that are working on a code and just writing code every single day.
Two more questions. So, continuation of the above question: how has AI adoption changed the skill profile you expect from product owners?
It, from my perspective, the additional skill that they'll need to develop, or that we see that they're developing, it's something that before was done in the collaboration, let's say with UI designers or with software engineers. The process of creating prototypes, it's way easier these days, and the product, that's why we are saying product engineers, they can see and develop the prototype solution way faster and see the result of their work way faster, so they can reiterate quicker. So their proficiency with AI tools and even software engineering agents, it's something that that is definitely is impacting their competence and the skills that they need to invest in.
And just to add to that, I mean, the better the context we can give to the AI agents, the better the results. So, and we even see clients who are iterating through that context process to make it as likely as possible that the agents will be building the right code. Okay, so next question. How have you adapted your recruitment process? In particular, how do you identify engineers with the greatest AI potential? That's a really interesting question.
Yes, so we encourage all the candidates that are applying to our company to use AI tools into the process. Usually in the past, we were sending them assignments and projects that they need to work so they can showcase the skills. Now we encourage them to use AI tools. And then through our discussion with them, it's more focused on their understanding of what AI tools are producing and understanding the concepts than like before the pure hard skill that they have. And also part of the interview process is involving the questions around the an assessment around the AI proficiency, what experience they have with tools, what understanding that they have with tools, and things like that. And it's constantly evolving, as the old way of recruiting people, it's not valid anymore, I would say.
And I think we would definitely also be majoring on things like the curiosity, what not just their technical skills, but how curious they are, what's their mindset, how the normal cultural alignment things as well. That's really critical for us as a business and always has been. But there are these sort of softer skills, which, as you saw from the presentation earlier, we need to focus on seeing if they can do that. We don't have all the answers yet. I mean, we're mostly trying to evolve the teams that we have today, but it's definitely those sorts of things that we'll be looking for. Next question. I think we've probably got time for these two. Can you share any lessons learned or missteps from your AI adoption journey and how it reshaped your approach?
Yeah, I think the biggest misstep, like from my perspective, is initial assumptions that everyone working in a tech is curious to try and learn and employ and try everything that is exciting in the technology, which is not always the case. So that's why we needed to introduce certain activities just to help our team to go through that process, from training to constant session about making them excited about what's happening and giving them opportunity to try what's new. That's the first team-wise. The like adoption, like, is just also the other aspect of having trust that everything that is generated by AI is correct. We needed to go one step back and try to understand that not everything that is generated and returned as a result from the AI tools, it's always the correct thing. So just to understand that we need to put an effort on top of it to review and do the necessary changes to the generated whatever it is, requirements or code or any other artifact that can be produced.
Okay, last question then. So cost-wise, at what point do you consider getting more tokens over people? This is a really good question. Don't know if we have an answer for that, Aleksandar.
But that definitely not at the moment.
I think we're looking to understand and see how much we can use this and what we can get out of it. Obviously, managing the cost of tokens is a critical new skill for people. I mean, it's a bit like engineers having to learn how to best use the cloud so that they don't overspend on the cloud. I think it's something similar to that with the use of tokens. But then the AI agents themselves are changing their pricing. So uh, I think Claude has recently changed its pricing models. So it's a moving feast. So it's something we have to monitor. So we haven't made a decision to hire more tokens than people, but what we have done is looked at how many people we need for a new project, bearing in mind the AI tools that we can use to generate and build the applications. So I think that comes to the end of the time, does it not, Hannah? Thank you
That
for
was,
so many questions.
yeah, excellent Q&A session. Lots of questions. For those who maybe have some more questions or more questions come up, we're actually doing an in-person Bytes in just 2 weeks. So 7th of May in London. So if you're in London, surrounding areas, you want to come down, Iain's going to be there. Aleksandar, I'm not sure if you're coming along? No? Okay, Iain's going to be there, and we're also going to have a panel discussion. So I'm going to pop the link in the chat function, so you can go check it out. We're going to have a 45-minute panel with some experts in the field who are going to have a discussion, a continuation from this. There's also going to be food, there's going to be drinks, so lots of networking opportunities for the evening as well. So again, if you're in London, you're in the surrounding area, you want to pop down for a bit of fun, May 7th. Hopefully we'll see you there. Otherwise, we are going to send around after this session a link to download the report. So that'll be kind of expanding upon this conversation as well. So lots of good stuff in there. Thank you, Iain. Thank you, Aleksandar, so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.